Morning chillings, decorators of the interweb, anybody who's into a bit of painting and decorating, gardeners, DIYers, anybody who wants to know about painting and decorating. It's Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator, back with another riveting, and we always got to have a riveting video. But today it's a major one. Feature wallpapering, feature wall wallpapering, or wallpapering on a feature wall. So let's give a quick 15-second intro of the Phil Beckwith stuff, and let's get on with it. So see you in a second. Right, back with you. It's Phil Beckwith, professional painter and decorator, going to be talking about feature wallpapering today. Now, aren't I lucky? I've had a run recently over the last few months of wallpapering with papers that haven't got much pattern. Say no more. But it doesn't matter whether it's got a pattern or not. What I'm going to tell you now, basic principles of wallpapering are exactly the same. We've got a feature wall behind us. Now I've only got one roll of paper because this paper is only going part way down on this wall. It's only just going over just over half. But because I've only got one roll, I'm going to show you how you measure up, because that's one of the things. We're going to measure up a feature wall and how you set it out to lay it out. So let's first talk about how we're going to know how much wallpaper we're going to use. So let me get my pencil. And away we go. Right, I'm back. If you can see all this wall in this camera, we've got the corner of the wall there, just there. Yeah, got a corner there. Right, you're going to say, how do we know how much to measure up? Right, basic principles. Measure top to bottom. You can see I've got my laser liner. Got my laser liner on the go. Right. What you want to do, measure the wall, top to bottom. This within a few millimetres, 2.65 metres, so that's 2,650 millimetres top to bottom. Right, a roll, really, check all your rolls, they're all round about 10.05 metres long. So already you can work out how many 2.65s go into a 10 metre roll, and let's call it a 10 metre roll. It's not 10.5, it's 10.05 metres. So already I know that a paper with a pattern match, and I'll say a pattern match, this hasn't got a pattern match, I'm going to be looking at 3 lengths will be a roll. Does that make sense? Because if 2.65 times by 3, you're just coming under 10 metres, aren't you? You're coming well under 10 metres. If this was a paper, and this is a paper without a pattern match, on this sort of height, with not much cutting top and bottom and not much pattern match, because there is no pattern match, you could get away with 4 lengths to a roll. But always gear up that you're 3 lengths to a roll and you won't go far wrong. Obviously, depending on your height. If you've got a double height, you're not going to get three lengths to a roll, but a general ordinary room around about 2.6, 2.7, work on the principle, you'll get 3 lengths to a roll. So going off that, 3 lengths to a roll, how are we going to work it out how many rolls we need? Well, I know how many I need on this because I only need 1, but if this was a wall that was doing top to bottom, with the no pattern match, straight through pattern match, let me just show you how you do it. So, come back in a second. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark it off. Put this against the wall, right. 1 length, 2 length, 3 length, 4 length. I've got 5 length just here, and then a strip. I've got a strip about, well, if it's on the roll, it's about there. So that's 6 lengths. So if gearing up that you get 3 lengths to a roll, I can hear you saying it already. We want 2 rolls. So 2 rolls of paper at £90 a roll. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, it's nearly £200, isn't it? Well, this £180. This isn't quite £90 a roll, but this is a paper that's a reverse alternate length. That's on another video. So if you want to know about reverse alternate lengths, video there. So it's straightforward. We're going to do this wallpaper that's not got really a pattern. It's got more of a metallic. I don't know whether you can see. If I go like that, can you see it's got metallic? So how are you going to do a feature wall? Same principle if it's a feature wall or it's a chimney breast, i.e. feature wall. So I'm just going to tell you how you do it. Find the middle of this wall. Now, do you know where the middle of this wall is? Laser liner. I've got a laser liner marking it out. So I've literally had a pair of, I've literally got my ruler. I've measured from one side to the other to get the distance. Now, to make it easy, I'm going to say it's 2.5 metres long. It's not. It's a bit. So 2.5 metres, half that is what? 2.5? Come on. Yeah. 1.25. Right. So that's where we're going to be. And that is just there. It's where my laser liner is. That is the middle of the wall. Now, depending on the pattern of your paper, you might want to hang from that line, from there or there. You might want to hang like that. So you work either side of that line. But sometimes the paper, the pattern on the paper, means it might look better if you find the middle of the paper, literally the width of the paper. This is, I think it's 520 millimeters. So 520, go to your 26 centimeters, find the middle of that. From that centre line, come out your 26 centimetres. So that would be a line just there. I don't know where you can see it. And with this paper, that's what I'm going to do. I found the middle and I'm going to hang this literally halfway to be in the middle of that room, on that wall. Do you follow me? I'm going to bring you in closer. I'm going to bring you in closer. So I've got my markings on here. There's the middle of the wall, middle of the paper, and I've measured it. And the edges are either side there. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. Comments and questions if you're not understanding me. Now the reason I'm doing this, because with it being a feature wall, I want it balanced with the lengths of wallpaper. I don't want to start one end and finish the other with just a little strip, because if the joints show, or particularly if you've got a pattern, it will stand out like a sore thumb. So if you find the middle of the wall and work one way and then the other, when you come to the ends, you'll have the same amount of paper strips being put on. That wide might be that wide. But with this paper, because it's a reverse alternate lengths, this, I'm going to call this length A. So my middle length will be length A. Either side will be turned over and there'll be length B. And then when it comes to this one, length A, and then the last strip on the left hand side will be a reverse, which I'll call it a B. But what I'm going to be doing is cutting a full width down to get a strip that wide, which means when I come to this side, I've got exactly the same. I've got a strip, because I've already marked it out, haven't I? Marked it out there. My last strip is probably a good 8 inches, but that's going to be a B as well. So can you see why I've done it? Straight from the middle. I've got an A, I've got a B, I've got an A, and then the final little strip, which is, I'd say, might be 6, 7, 8 inches wide there, is a B, which is a reverse, because I'm reversing it, and I'm doing a top, an A, reverse it, the top will be a B, so on. So do you understand that then? If this was a pattern paper, it would balance better. And don't forget, work it out. Look at your paper before you start hanging it. If you've got a predominant pattern, look at your top edges. Are your top edges running out? If you've got a big pattern, is it better? And I'm asking the question. We'll come to an answer at the end. I'm asking the question. If you've got a big pattern, do you want to see the big pattern across the top? And it might not be balanced at the bottom, but don't forget there could be furniture in a bed, so you don't see the bottom. So we don't worry too much about the bottom if there's furniture in. You could have a pattern going across the top that you can see nicely, but at the bottom you won't. Or do you balance it halfway between, so what's at the top will mirror the bottom? Now that's the dilemma, and that's where it comes a bit tricky to look at what paper you're putting on, what will it look like. Don't rush it. Draw it out. Look at the pattern on the paper and say to yourself, am I better seeing a definite pattern at the top and not have it at the bottom? Or is it one of those patterns that you can balance it, measure top to bottom, find the middle using your laser liner and hang from the middle up? So if half a fleur-de-lis at the top, there'd be probably half a fleur-de-lis at the bottom. A flowery fleur-de-lis pattern, you know what I mean? The same principle, if you've got circles, big circles, are you better to have half a circle at the top and half a circle at the bottom than trying to keep a full circle away from the top and then you find out that the ceiling's running out? I know what I prefer. If a ceiling's running out and you've got a full circle or a pattern being shown, but by the time it gets to the other end you're going into that pattern and you're losing it, does it highlight that feature of the ceiling running out because the plastering's not good? Are you better to balance it? Are you better to look at it and think the top, if we find it halfway between top and bottom, if the pattern is running out, it's not so obvious when you walk into a room. But that's where you've got to weigh up by looking at the paper you're putting on, work out your ceiling distances to your floor and balancing it. Sometimes it's better to balance than just banging it straight on. If it's a random pattern that's very busy, you don't have to worry too much about trying to balance your papers, and you'll know what I mean by balancing it. If you've seen TikTok and the Instagrams and even some YouTube videos or photos of people putting wallpaper on, or even going to people's houses, just look, do you walk in and see a definite picture of a pattern and it goes boom, 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 and then at the bottom you think that could have just been shuffled up slightly to balance it between ceiling and floor? But that's why you employ a professional painter and decorator, or you're watching a professional painter and decorator telling you the tips of the trade. So come back again. See you on the next one. So, I mean, that's it. Do you work it out that you see a pattern at the top? If your ceilings are good, you can get away with it. But if they're not, you might be better to get your pattern halfway between the ceiling and the floor and measure it all out. Spend a bit of time measuring it. But other than that, it's a straightforward hanging a feature wall, and I'm going for the middle. So I'll stop now and then I'll crack on with it, and then you can see what it's like when it's finished. So what I've just done, pasted the wall straight across the top and then rolled it. Wicks paste. I've marked on the wall because my laser liner has got my mark just there, so it's moved off because I've banged it. But what I've done, where the laser liner mark is, I've put pencil marks in 3 spots so I know where I'm hanging the paper from. Now I'm hanging off the roll. Just curl it back at the top, it's going to roll up on you. You only need a couple of inch top to bottom. I can see where my laser is, I can see where my lines are. I'm coming down, and that is where I want the paper. Straight up. Use your spatula to get it into the angle nicely. I like to go over it with hanging brush. Make sure there's no air bubbles in it. Now I can see there, I'm just going to drop that all the way down. I can see there my orange line where I want to be. I'm lined up. Yeah, it's my laser liner lined up. Yeah, nicely. I can see where I want my line to be, so I just put my spatula straight edge on there. Double check my measurements. Double check my measurements. 1 metre. 190, yeah, my measurements are right. I don't want to cut it and get it wrong. Straight edge. Carefully cutting, not wanting to go into the plaster wall. See my edge there. And across the top, push it in. Lovely. Now what I do, because this is I've lined the wall. This is only an 800 grade lining paper. Always line your walls. Unless the actual manufacturer says don't line the walls, always line your walls. So I've lined the walls. And when I've lined the walls, because we've only done the emulsioning on the walls and the lining, not done any woodwork, not done any sealing, I've just put a bead of cork, decorator's cork, around all the edges, which is nice because when you get your blade and your straight edge to cut in onto it, actually your blade cuts into the cork and not into bare plaster and breaking it away. So that's a top tip Tuesday. Around your lining paper before wallpapering, put a bead of cork. And I've got warm water. Just to wipe off any paste that might have oozed out. Right, so that's that. One length on. Now the next one is actually a reverse. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to offer up this paper so I know how much I need. That to there. That bit to there. I need to be cutting below that, so I'm going to just make a mark just below. And that is where I need to be trimming off. Right, so I'm going to fold it over, line it up with the sides of the paper, go all the way across like that, and then cut it with the shears, which are just here. Could do this on a board. All the way across. Get my pencil, just there. And this is the top of the roll, and this is a B. The same will go for the next length. So let's get this pasted. Put that on there, and we'll do the same again. Just go beyond where you're needing to go. Cut up neatly to the ceiling. We start again. The B's at the top. Don't need much overlap at the top. Make sure your joints really butt. Come down a bit. There's a bit line, yeah. Turn that off. I don't need my vertical. Push your joints together. Really tight, push them over. Feel that. So you don't need to cut much off there. Seam lines, only a bit to trim off. Bring it in line with the other piece of paper. Lovely. Now the same with the top. Right, now just to work on the edges. Seam roller. Just make sure they're all pushed together. Just slide in there, just get them down. Lovely. There's the next one. So make sure you've got no paste on the surface. So the next one will be a reverse as well, which is a B. So let's mark that one off. Can do it even quicker. I know where my lines are going to go. Just dead easy. Turn it over. And this is B. Mark it B. So we've got an A, a B and a B. Now I'm going to go to an A and an A. Still got the horizontal line just where I want it. Now this will work straight off the roll. So I'm on my last strip. You see where my joints are, where I've wiped them with a damp sponge, they'll dry out. Yeah, it's fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So the strip at the end is what I'd say probably about 8 inches, if that. 7. The strip at that side is as good as 7, so we've actually balanced it quite well because we took it in the middle. Now the reason for doing that is because if these joints on this sort of paper do show slightly, at least it balances across the wall and you're not going to go full length, full length, full length to a strip in that corner. So doing it this way, we've got a strip there and a strip matching that side. So on the last length now, I've just cut off the length. This is a B, so I've reversed it round, so I know that the bottom is now the top to go there. That's the good edge that will go up against there. Oh, can we get it? Go up against there, and then we trim off. And we trim off on that corner. So we've trimmed off 7 inch, it's about 7 inch, roughly about the same. So that's the good edge. I'm going to paste that, get it on, do the side there, and then that's the feature wall done. Dead easy. It's a shame it's not a bit bolder colour. Never mind, never mind. 47 and I've still got hair on my head. Look. Still got hair on my head. What does that? 47. Neatly cut it into the angle. I'm only using a brush on this. Make sure you got the top. Now, secret with this paper, make sure you don't get any paste on the surface. I've always got it's a really soft sponge. You know, I use a soft sponge or a soft cloth, just wipe off any excess paste as you see it, which there's not a lot on here. Around the corners, around the sides. But the other tip for this paper, now I'm using a squeegee. Apply enough pressure, but don't put too much pressure on that you're damaging the paper. That probably stands to reason, and that's hence why I also use a nice proper paper hanging brush as well. Make sure your joints are right. The seam roller, really probably a soft seam roller, soft rubber seam roller could be used on this paper, but I'm being gentle just to get the joints down with this. I'm not applying too much pressure. They're butt joints and they're lovely. All I've got to do now is just check for any paste. That's that done, and then we'll go to the other side and do the other side. Yay! It's exactly the same principle. Get you from there. Still got my laser liner following me that straight line all the way across, because we've cut 1.19 above the skirting. There's a headboard that's going at 1.22, so we've got plenty on there. And that laser liner is, I'll just move it because I've just knocked it. It's leveling itself out now, you can see it. It's following my line, about stopped. So last strip, then jobs are good and we're done. And there we have it. How long have we been? Hour? What do you reckon? 150 quid? Easy, innit? Feature wall, £150. Hours worth of work hanging the paper. Don't forget, lined it the day before. So yeah, it's easy work, isn't it? This is where your money's going to be made, decorating. Feature wallpapering. But joking aside, this wall now done. See where my laser's going across halfway, because that's where the headboard's going to go. Joints are now drying out because it's just damp water. But the reason we hang from the middle is so we've got a balance either side. And we've got, what do we say, 7 to 8 inch either side on the strips that went on. Now if this was a paper that was heavily patterned, that's noticeable, you want to hang from the middle. And as I said earlier in the video, either hang from the middle of the wall or hang from the middle, taking in the middle of the roll of the wallpaper. So the middle of the roll of the wallpaper is the middle of the wall, working left to right, or you hang from that line left to right. But that's for you to decide when you get the paper that you're working with. But other than that, what a lovely coloured wallpaper for a feature wall. See you on the next one. I'm going to put a spanner in the works. There's an exception to the rules with wallpapering. Sometimes your wallpaper, the pattern, if you've got a pattern wallpaper, might not be actually in the centre of that width of roll of wallpaper. It might be offset. So if you've got a feature wall, get your paper out, check it, because you might find that the pattern is 3/4 of the way across and not halfway. So if that's the case, make sure that you get the main pattern of that wallpaper central to your width of wall. Whether it be offset when you do the joints, but the pattern's in the middle, that's how you've got to do it. Because by the time you get to the ends, it'll look skew-if. So just think about that. Look at your paper before you hang it. Don't just go with finding the middle or finding the edges of half of a width. Look at the pattern that you've got and go, ooh, I think actually that pattern's offset to the middle of the wall. Because if you've got a wall with a pattern that is slightly offset, it's going to throw all that wall out, and you want the main pattern of that wallpaper virtually spot on in the middle of that wall. So pause for thought there, sleep on it before you do it, and read the instructions.